So picture this. You're sitting on your couch at the end of a long, exhausting day.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right. The TV is playing something in the background that you aren't really watching. And you pull out your phone, open up your dating app of choice, and you just start swiping.
Yep, the nightly ritual.
Exactly. And almost immediately, you're hit with, like, the exact same sequence of words over and over again. You definitely know the ones.
Oh, I can guess.
It's always like, 6'1", outdoorsy, ambitious.
Dog dad.
Yes. Dog dad, gymmish, traveler, foodie, good vibes only.
Fluent in banter.
Oh my gosh, fluent in banter. It is almost as if everyone in your city suddenly hired the exact same PR firm, right?
Yeah.
To write their dating bios using the standardized template of, like, 10 adjectives?
It really is a distinctly modern phenomenon, and honestly, it's a lightly tragic one, if you think about it.
Tragic. How so?
Well, we've somehow collectively decided to reduce the infinite, messy complexity of human beings down to a bulleted list of highly optimized search terms. We are essentially trying to hack human connection with SEO.
Wow. Hacking connection with SEO. That is exactly what it feels like. And, that sinking feeling you get when you read those lists, that feeling of just being completely underwhelmed, it's so universal.
It really is.
If you are single and navigating that world, or even if you're just, like, fascinated by human behavior and how we choose to present ourselves, you've probably noticed that reading a list of traits doesn't exactly make your heart skip a beat.
No, it usually does the exact opposite.
Right. It makes you want to close the app. And if that makes your heart sink rather than skip a beat, you really aren't alone. Today, we got our hands on a fascinating piece of research from an April 2026 Psychology Today article.
Dr. Gerrit Birnbaum's piece.
Yes, titled The Dating Shopping List Trap. And this deep dive mission is to figure out exactly why this bullet point strategy is actively repelling people and the underlying psychology of what we actually need to be doing instead. So, okay, let's unpack this.
It's a bit.
My gut reaction to those adjective lists has always been that they just feel, incredibly cold.
Cold is the perfect word.
Yeah, it feels less like I'm being introduced to a dynamic, living, breathing human being and more like I am reading a car for sale listing.
Oh, totally.
Like low mileage, runs great, newly rotated tires, clean interior. It's just a list of specs.
Well, the author of our source article actually had that identical gut reaction when she was observing the dating pool. She leans right into that car for sale analogy, but she points out this brilliant irony that we all seem to have missed.
Wait, what's the irony?
Even the people who are out there actively selling actual cars know that listing the features is a terrible way to make a sale.
Oh, wow. That is funny to think about because a car is literally just a machine. You'd assume the specs are the only things that actually matter to a buyer.
You would assume so, right? But marketing companies moved past the shopping list approach decades ago, handing a consumer a raw list of features like the exact horsepower or specific safety ratings. It just doesn't move the needle on human behavior. It doesn't create curiosity. To really sell that car, they know they have to bypass the analytical part of your brain and tell a story.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they understand that you aren't just buying a metal box with a good safety rating.
Right.
They want you to feel like you're buying a legacy that's going to protect your family on a cross-country road trip.
Oh, totally. When you put it like that, it makes complete sense.
Right.
Think about literally any major car commercial you've seen recently.
It's never a spreadsheet.
No. It is never just a guy in a suit standing next to a sedan reading a list of specs.
Yeah.
It's always like a dad driving his daughter to her first day of college through a massive rainstorm.
Exactly.
The windshield wipers are going, the road is slick, there's that soft piano music playing.
And they share that meaningful look in the rearview mirror.
Yes, you feel it.
You really feel it. Because they are building an emotional resonance around the brand rather than just delivering data. Think about how you as a learner prefer to consume information. You probably prefer context and narrative and meaning over just staring at a raw data table.
Oh, 100%. A data table puts me to sleep.
Right. A raw data table gives you the facts, but it doesn't give you the underlying why or the how. And the exact same psychological principle applies to romance and attraction.
Okay, let me stop you right there, though, and just play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
Because I hear what you are saying about marketing and commercials. But realistically, people are swiping on the toilet.
That's true.
They're doing it while standing on a crowded subway or waiting in line for a coffee. I might have like 30 seconds of mental bandwidth. I do not have the time to read a sweeping cinematic novel just to find out if a guy likes to go hiking.
Right, the efficiency argument.
Yeah. Isn't a bulleted list just respecting the user's time? It feels like we are demanding too much from someone who is just trying to be quick and efficient.
So that is the exact trap we all fall into, and it is a fundamental misunderstanding of how the brain works.
Right.
You are confusing the efficiency of consuming information with the efficiency of forming a connection.
Oh, okay. What is the difference there?
Well, a bullet point is undeniably faster to read, obviously. But speed is not the goal of dating. Connection is. When you are reading a list of adjectives, 6'1", ambitious, dog dad, your brain is operating in a highly analytical mode. You are evaluating, judging, categorizing. You're basically holding the other person at arm's length.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like.
The cognitive friction is actually incredibly high because your brain has to work so hard to translate those isolated data points into a mental picture of a real human being.
It honestly feels like my brain turns into a TSA agent.
A TSA agent.
Yeah, like I am just standing there checking a boarding pass, looking for red flags. Oh, you don't like hiking? Red flag, swipe left. Or your favorite food is pizza. Not unique enough, swipe left. I am just screening for errors.
That is a brilliant way to put it, yes. When you act like a TSA agent, you are guarding the gate. But a narrative turns your brain from a TSA agent into a moviegoer.
A moviegoer, I like that.
Think about it. When someone tells a good story, you drop your bags, you sit down, and you let the experience wash over you. From cradle to grave, human beings are fundamentally enchanted by stories.
We really are. We love stories.
What's fascinating here is that when you hear a narrative, you enter an immersive state where you momentarily forget your surroundings. You stop evaluating analytically, and you start processing experientially.
Wait, processing experientially meaning I am no longer judging the data. I am actually feeling what they are feeling.
Yes, exactly. You are simulating their experience in your own mind. And this is the crucial neurological distinction here. Stories make us feel, and feelings are what drive our decisions.
Not facts.
Not facts. Even the decisions we pride ourselves on being perfectly rational about are usually driven by a feeling that we only later justify with facts. When you read a list, you're just being informed. When you read a story, your analytical guard comes down and you are being moved.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the researchers actually put this TSA versus moviegoer theory to the test. And they did it in such a clever way.
They really did.
They wanted to see if the marketing tricks that work for selling cars would actually make someone want to go on a date with you without changing a single underlying fact about who you are.
Right, keeping the data exactly the same.
Exactly. So they created this fictional guy. Let's call him Dan.
Okay, Dan.
They showed one group of people a bio for Dan that was just the non-narrative facts. And let me tell you, Dan sounds like a great guy on paper, but reading his list of traits is an absolute slog.
Remind me, what were the raw data points they gave for Dan?
Okay, so it states that he plays guitar. He learned when he was young because his grandpa gave him his first guitar. He traveled to South America after high school.
Okay.
He tried some extreme sports there, had some meaningful conversations, and now he studies economics and works in high tech. Oh, and he likes wine.
I mean, it's a lot of info.
But it reads like a LinkedIn profile for a job I don't even want to apply for. It is so disjointed. I play guitar. I went to South America. I study economics.
Right. It gives you a clear picture of his hobbies and his background, but it leaves you entirely cold. Because as an analytical reader, your brain is forced to do all the heavy lifting to figure out how a guitar, South America, and an economics degree fit together into a cohesive personality.
It's too much work. But then they gave a different group of participants a completely different version of Dan's profile.
The narrative version.
Yeah. And this version contained the exact same facts. Literally every single piece of data is identical. But it was woven into a narrative.
How did it sound?
So Dan says his grandfather always believed music connects people, which is why he gave Dan the guitar at age 7.
Nice.
Then he talks about South America, connecting it to his life path. He says the deep conversations he had while traveling taught him to appreciate what's important, which led to an epiphany where he had to decide between pursuing art and taking a new direction.
Ah, turning point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he jokes, I won't leave you in suspense. Today I'm an economics student. And he wraps it up by saying he loves finishing the day on his balcony with a glass of wine and his guitar. And if you're smiling reading this, he'd love to meet you.
Wow. Notice what changes there.
It's completely different.
Right, because in the first version, grandfather, South America, and economics are just isolated data points.
Mm-hmm.
In the narrative version, there is causality.
Causality.
Yes,
Yeah.
human brains are deeply wired to seek out cause and effect. The grandfather's belief in human connection is the cause. Playing the guitar is the effect.
Ah,
The conversations in South America are the cause. Study economics is the effect.
it provides a plot. It literally does the connective work for you. Factual Dan seems a bit robotic and scattered. Narrative Dan seems self-aware, sentimental, and engaging. It completely changes how you perceive him, even though the underlying data hasn't shifted at all.
Because you aren't just learning about Dan, you are witnessing Dan's evolution.
Wow. But knowing that a written story hooks us is one thing. When you are actually on these apps, text is often secondary. Honestly. I am looking at the pictures first.
Oh, everyone is.
We process visual information so much faster than written text. I was really wondering how you could possibly tell a story with a dating app photo. Usually it's just like a guy holding a fish,
Always a fit.
right? A blurry mirror selfie, and a group shot at a wedding where you can't even tell which one is the profile owner.
This is where the research gets incredibly practical for the modern landscape. The researchers recognize that pictures often matter more than text in impression formation, so they looked at how photos were sequenced.
Sequence.
Yes. When they just showed people a random assortment of disconnected photos, like a picture in a park, then a picture standing on a street, it functioned just like the bulleted list.
Oh, I see. It's just visual data, visual specs.
Exactly. There is no connective thread. But then they sequenced the photos to depict a chronological slice of life.
This slice of life.
Yeah. It was the same person, but the photos moved through a typical day. It started with a morning activity, like making coffee or going for a run.
Okay.
Then it progressed to a daily routine, perhaps working or cooking. Finally, it culminated in an evening engagement, like laughing with friends over dinner.
So you are essentially watching a mini documentary of their Tuesday unfold as you swipe through.
And here is what happens neurologically when you view that chronological sequence. We have these things in our brains called mirror neurons.
Wait, mirror neurons, like the mechanism that makes me instinctively yawn when I see you yawn.
That is the exact mechanism. Mirror neurons fire both when we act and when we observe the same action performed by someone else.
Oh, wow.
So when you see a sequence of someone leaving their day making coffee, running, socializing, your mirror neurons fire as if you are experiencing a piece of that life yourself.
That is wild.
You are no longer just looking at a stranger standing in front of a brick wall. Your brain is actively simulating what it would feel like to step into that timeline. You are projecting yourself into a future memory with them.
That makes so much sense. When you just see single static photo, the cognitive friction is high because you have to invent a context for that person. But if you see the flow of their day, the brain relaxes, it feels familiar, it feels safe. You can easily picture yourself as a co-star in that specific movie.
Which brings us to the collision of these two elements. On a real app, text and photos are competing for your attention simultaneously.
Right.
So the researchers combined the narrative text with the chronological photos to mimic a real-world platform, and the results were profound. The narrative presentations actively intensified empathy for the profiled person. Empathy is the psychological bridge here.
Empathy. Not attraction, but empathy.
Attraction follows the empathy. When the brain simulates the other person's experience, the TSA agent's analytical guard drops entirely.
Because you're feeling what they feel.
Exactly. You cannot feel empathy for a bulleted list of features. You can only feel empathy for a human being who has a history, who had struggles, who has a trajectory. The story lowers the drawbridge, making you feel a sense of warmth toward the person. And that heightened empathy directly predicted significantly greater romantic interest.
It really makes me reevaluate the entire ecosystem of modern dating. We are all out here complaining about dating fatigue, feeling like we're just swiping through an endless catalog of interchangeable faces. But we are the ones writing the catalog.
We are.
So what does this all mean for us? If we know the science, how do we actually fix our own broken profiles?
Well, the underlying philosophical takeaway from Dr. Birnbaum's work is incredibly powerful. Online dating, by its very architecture, inherently objectifies people.
It definitely feels that way.
It turns human beings into commodities to be filtered, sorted, and discarded. Storytelling is the active cure for that commodification. It's a rebellion against the objectifying nature of the platform. By choosing to tell a story instead of listing your specs, you are refusing to be a product.
Refusing to be a product. I absolutely love that framing. It shifts the power dynamic.
It really does.
We have to take these rigid labels we've been hiding behind and turn them into actual lived examples. And the article provided some fantastic, actionable, quick swaps to help transition from a list to a narrative. I want to break them down because they illustrate this mechanism perfectly.
Let's do it. The difference between telling and showing is everything here.
Exactly. So let's take the word funny. Seeing funny as a bullet point on a profile is probably the least funny thing a person can do.
It's terrible. It is a completely empty claim.
Right. It demands that the reader just take your word for it,
Yeah.
which the analytical brain refuses to do.
So what's the swap?
So swap they suggest is, instead of writing funny, you write a micro scene. You write, I laugh at my own jokes first. It's a character flaw.
See, notice why that works so well. It demonstrates self-awareness, it provides a crucial bit of vulnerability, and it actually induces a smile in the reader.
It's charming.
Very charming. You aren't claiming a trait. You're inviting the reader to witness how you behave in the real world.
Okay, here's another common one, the label outdoorsy. This is so prevalent, but it could mean literally anything from I enjoy drinking on patios to I forage for my own food and live in a yurt.
Yeah, the ambiguity of the label creates more cognitive friction. And when faced with ambiguity, the brain usually assumes the least charitable interpretation or simply skips it entirely.
So true. So the suggested swap is, most weekends I disappear into a trail, come back sunburned, and swear I'll bring more water next time.
That paints an incredibly vivid picture. Your mirror neurons can immediately latch onto that. I can see the sunburn, I can feel the exhaustion of the hike, I can hear the self-deprecating humor about forgetting the water.
You feel like you're there.
Yes, it invites the reader to relate to the very human experience of making a slight mistake while doing something you love. It turns an intimidating label into an accessible anecdote.
And the last one's a big one, the label independent.
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
It is. Because sometimes when you read independent on a dating profile, it comes across as defensive. It almost reads as a warning sign, like, I don't need anybody, and you're going to have to fight for a place in my schedule.
That is a very real issue. Independent can inadvertently signal that you have built a fortress around your life, and there is no room for a partner. It raises the reader's analytical defenses.
So to soften that perimeter, the swap is, I love my alone time. I also love choosing to share it with someone.
Oh, I like that.
Isn't it great?
It completely alters the tone of the interaction. It takes a rigid, potentially alienating trait and turns it into a dynamic, welcoming choice. It shows that your independence is not an impenetrable wall. It's a healthy boundary that you are willingly inviting someone to cross. You're giving them a role in your story.
It is so much more inviting. It makes the reader feel chosen rather than tolerated. So here is a challenge for you, the listener. Sometime today, pull up your own dating bio. Or, if you aren't currently navigating the dating world, pull up your professional bio on LinkedIn or even your Instagram bio. Look critically at what you have written. Are you acting like a car dealership listing features? Or are you acting like a movie director setting a scene?
That's a great way to think about it.
Try changing just one single bullet point into a microstory. Take one label and turn it into a lived example. Just see how it changes the feeling of your own profile.
It's a phenomenal exercise. Because once you start seeing human interaction through the lens of narrative rather than categories, you realize how much richer and warmer connection can be. We don't have to settle for the cold efficiency of a spreadsheet.
We really don't. Man, we have covered a massive amount of ground today, from the psychology of car commercials to the way mirror neurons fire when we see a picture of someone making coffee.
We really unpacked a lot.
We did.
Yeah.
But the ultimate takeaway from this deep dive into Dr. Birnbaum's research is incredibly grounding. At the end of the day, it's not your height, it's not your impressive job title, and it's not your ambition that makes someone fall for you. It's your entire, messy, causally connected story.
Beautifully said.
Thank you. And the right person simply cannot feel that story from a sterile list of bullet points.
No, they can't. And this leaves us with a critical, lingering realization to ponder. If treating dating profiles like a shopping list turns us into detached analytical gatekeepers guarding our own borders,
Yeah.
are we accidentally training ourselves to swipe left on our perfect match just because they missed one arbitrary bullet point on our checklist? Are we engineering our own loneliness in the pursuit of efficiency?
Wow. That is a heavy thought, and it is absolutely going to stick with me the next time I open an app. Thank you all so much for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden psychological traps of our dating profiles. We hope it sparks some major realizations for you, and we warmly invite you to return and join us next time.